Angela, can you hear me? Angela, I can hear. I think you're on mute.
So yeah, just let me get my headset on and
Yeah, that's fine. I just got here too.
I'm actually eating my breakfast.
Yeah, I'm in my school.
And that, oh, you are. I have to leave at bang at 9:30.
Okay.
Okay, now let's see. I need to plug this thing in. And I can't see which one goes.
I can't get my iPad to work. I got my iPhone to work, but I can't get my iPad to work.
I think it's this way.
I think what I'll do. Get behind my desk here. Set this up somehow. Too many wires in school here. Hi, there's Ed. Hi, Ed.
Morning, Pat. I know Gary told us that he's not able to make it today. He's actually in bed somewhere in Stanford Hospital. So he won't be with us this month. So I hope he'll be back soon. Angela, I see you're there, Kevin.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Did I plug in my, yes, I did plug in my headset. Okay, let me get them things up. Wait a minute, where do I want to put this?
Feels a bit odd wearing a headset and stand sitting there like a Cyberman, but it works better than anything else.
Oh, let me see. I've lost where the minutes are. Where's it gone? It's over here. Okay, that's okay.
Ed? You there?
Yes, Kevin, I'm here.
You know, when I was coming, you must have come to school to work early this morning because I came down about 7 o'clock in Alpine. And I noticed that a lot of bicyclists were riding single file. And it sure makes a difference because the people coming towards you that are coming west don't come over the center line, which is great.
Yeah.
You know?
I think, yeah, riding in a group in the dark is probably not such a great idea.
No, even two abreast because they're infringing on the fog line. And then traffic comes by them, they're moving over the double line. And
I've always wanted a bumper sticker that says single file on Alpine myself.
all right, I like that. Hey,
No, you know what I think? I don't think the problem is so. I don't think the problem is so much single file, which we know will never go by because it's legal to ride side by side. But over the years, as a cyclist, I have been told by many other cyclists to ride on the white line because all of the rubble and all of the junk on the bike lane gets filled with glass and grit from the road.
that's
So
right.
you always ride on the white line. If we could somehow get people to ride in the middle of that lane instead of the white line, so many of our problems would be gone
Absolutely.
because people don't have the 3-foot law for the cars puts you in the other lane. And if there's cars going both directions, it's a nightmare.
Yes, it is.
So I think that is legal. You know, that we could kind of try to promote and not have to continue to battle with, well, if they rode single file, let's just get them to ride away from the line and maybe single file will come out of that.
Maybe
Yeah.
we should put we roll our shoulders, you know, and we sweep them too, you know.
Well, you know, it's kind of like a community. Yeah, it's like, you know, our cleaning schedule. We clean these shoulders constantly. Howard knows that schedule. It's not like the rest of the area where you have glass all over. Our shoulders are really clean.
Yeah, compared to other cities.
I know it's the truth, but I've just noticed it with so many people that I ride with. And I
Interesting.
asked them, how come you're riding so close to the center line? And they're just like, well, that's where there's no dirt.
Yeah. I really noticed a difference this morning. I don't know many bicycles I passed that were going west, but I'd say, you know, a couple of dozen, and they're all single file, and it makes such a difference, especially when it's dark, you know, because now I don't have to worry about somebody coming head on at me.
Right. Well, and then the other question, you know, to add to this is lighting for bikes at night, is in particular that don't have lights on.
Yeah, early.
And
Well,
then-
that should be cited. That should be
Right.
cited.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say that for sure.
Stanford
Because-
campus is the worst at the moment with new students. It is,
Oh,
you know, I have nearly knocked down several people on the Stanford campus who come on the wrong side of the road with no lights.
Mhm.
Yeah, but we can't, you know, we got to stick with our area because we'll never get anywhere with Stanford.
You know,
But if we started issuing tickets out here and people heard about it,
Might happen.
people might use lights. You know, that's the kind of thing we want to get out there. Is like we ticket people for not having lights.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to. It's
Okay,
meeting
I think
time.
we're 5 minutes in. Let's call the meeting to order, please. It's good discussion. I've got nothing wrong, nothing against it at all. As you might know, some of you, I use lights all the time. Day and night.
You're cutting in and out, Ed.
You sound
Oh.
terrible, Ed. You're all gibber jabbering.
My headset's dying. Bloody hell. Right, so.
Which audio am I using now? No, I don't want to use those. Okay, can anybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, it's back. Okay. I had to abandon the headset. The batteries died.
Yes.
That's a very common feature. Right. Yes, call the meeting to order, please, and begin with our roll call. Thank you.
Kevin Welch.
Angela Hay.
Pat Bainan.
Ed Holland. Okay, thank you very much. Item 2 is our oral communications opportunity for anyone and everybody, particularly residents and also members of the committee. So if anyone has to say anything right now, please put up a hand, and this is your opportunity. Do we have any comments? Apart from maybe a request to cite cyclists who are not riding with lights at night. So that's possible. Item 3 is approval. I put on here approval of the minutes of the September 7th meeting, including the corrections that we discussed last time. I think those corrections are put in place, so thank you. I propose that we approve those. Do I have a second, please? Thank you. And then our minutes from the October 5th meeting. I looked at those and assessed that they're a reasonable, good record of the meeting. So I propose that we accept those as written, unless anyone else has a comment to make on the October meeting minutes, please.
Second those also, Ed.
All right, thank you. Moving ahead. That's all we have on that. Item 4 is Sheriff's report. Please, Mr. Taylor, what do you have for us this month?
Well, we have no accidents. It's pretty small report this month or for September. No accidents for September. There was a comparison to 2021. There was 2 major accidents in 2021, and this month we had none. For citation information, we had 5 moving sites and 5 parking sites. That's pretty much it. And that's down from last year too. So, but that's pretty much all we had for the month of September.
What accounts for the decline in citations, given that people are still speeding possibly faster than ever from last year.
Well, you don't know that.
Well, we can look into things like the fact that the deputies are waiting to know to use LiDAR and radar to do speed. So once we have that ability, we'll be good to go. I think Howard and them are working on that kind of stuff right now. So
Okay, well, thank you for that. Do you know, Howard, do we receive a written report for this month or for the September month?
A written report for,
For September? You know, we very or infrequently, sometimes these days, but for a while would receive a written report of the citations.
I got sent to me this morning. I forwarded to you this morning, you and
Oh, well,
Angela.
beg your pardon, I hadn't seen it. Thank you.
Oh,
if you, Edward, if you want to send me your email, I can include you on the email if that's okay with Howard and them. To send it directly to you.
That would be fine. Yeah, I could say please send it to Howard, myself, and Gary Nielsen, who's the police commissioner.
Okay.
And then I can circulate it to the committee. That would be perfect. Thank you very much. I think you have my email. If not, I'll look out yours and let you know. Or Howard, if you could share that, please. That would be great.
Yes, I could do that.
Thank you. One other thing I note that I don't know how frequently gets cited is I see a lot of cars driving around with one headlight. Do you ever stop for that?
Yeah, we do have a vehicle code for the for headlights. We have a couple different ones we can use. One is a general lighting requirement, which covers all lights in the vehicle, and then one is just specifically for headlights. Both of them are fixed citations, so we typically don't write too many of those. Depends on what the issues are in those areas, but we typically don't write a whole lot of moving sites for headlights out. I used to do it a lot when I was in patrol, but lately I haven't seen a whole lot of those.
No, thank you. Yeah. Does anyone have additional items for Officer Taylor, please? If not, then we'll move on to our next item. Nope. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
That brings us to item 5, which is the Public Works update from Howard.
Okay, thank you, Ed. Just wanted to start off by saying the town hasn't received any major report or seen any major traffic issues in the last month. We've monitored several places that we've kind of brought up before in the past. So the first one is we received an inquiry concerning Creek Park Drive, and we've been monitoring it over the last 2 weeks, not on the weekends, but in the evenings. We have not seen many cars. I mean, the number of cars at the end of the cul-de-sac there ranged from 0 and at most 1, 2, or 3. And it's hard to determine if those cars are associated with Alpine Inn or the soccer field. Sometimes we'd go over there on Mondays and there are cars parked there. So they could be visitors or the residents too on Creek Park. But really, we haven't seen a lot of cars, if any, parked on Creek Park Drive the times that we've passed through in the afternoon and in the early evenings. So, and we haven't heard from the complainant provide documentation indicating that. She indicated she would, and we have not received it. So moving on to the next place, Golden Oaks. I know there was a discussion across from Alpine Inn concerning vehicles parked in litter before. We have not seen any recently. I don't know if anyone else has over the weekend, but during the weekdays, afternoons and evenings, we haven't seen any cars there or any significant litter. Moving on to the next location, Westridge Drive at Alamos. There's a little pull out there. We haven't seen any cars parked there or a little concern also. So adding on to Spatola and Windy Hill, maybe because it's the weather, we haven't seen a lot of action there during the weekdays, but most likely on the weekends. Willowbrook and Alpine. I know that's not as bad as before because it's post-pandemic right now. So haven't gotten any reports there. or concerning the red curb that we've placed on Willowbrook. Let's see. Just want to also mention the Santa Clara County Roads and Airports Department is doing some work on Arastadero. They informed us on Friday, so we weren't aware of it, but we are going to shoot it out. I've asked Carrie, the communications person here in the office, to shoot something out via our social media to let people know that that is not our work, that is the county's work. They did place electronic sign message boards on Alpine Road, indicating their road work between November 2nd and November 22nd. And I've asked them to add the word Arastadero to their message board so people know it's not on Alpine Road, it's on Arastadero Road. When I spoke to their contractor, it is about 5-6 days of work. It's even though they posted November 2nd to November 22nd, there's some downtime in between there. So they are working, doing some overlay work on Arastadero near the bridge, so very close to Alpine Inn. So, and I've informed Alpine Inn also. And any questions on that, you can find information on their website, and we'll provide that information on the news blurb that we're going to send out. Our street resurfacing work is substantially complete. The street resurfacing portion is complete already. So what's left over, we've finished majority of the striping. The only thing that's left is the striping on Alpine that we're going to, and Golden Oaks and Cervantes on the center line that we're going to wrap up. We made some adjustments and some punch list work, but it is substantially complete. The resurfacing itself is all done. We did roll the shoulders also, and we made some striping adjustments for bicyclists. Really no, on the resurfacing project, we did 15 street sections. We didn't get any calls or major issues, which is great. We did spend a lot of time pushing out information, a lot. Let's see, what we're focused on now is winter prep. So our crews are kind of checking culverts first on the roadsides, and then we do water bars on the trails. And if anyone wants to help check their culverts in front of their streets, that would be great. Just making sure they're clear of leaves and any debris. On the resurfacing streets, we do put we're going to be looking at our sign inventories and kind of renew the signs too that we on the 15 sections that we resurfaced. And we're going to continue through the holiday, through November and December. We are going to continue with our fire mitigation work on Golden Oaks and on Los Trancos, and that's going fine. No calls or issues there. And I think that's it. If there's any concerns, please use PV Connect. One thing that I want to look back at is, of the intersections that we did do last year that we post signs, probably look at that and get some feedback too. I think it's an improvement, and we haven't gotten a lot of calls or complaints from those intersections. So I assume they're working well and serving the community. So thank you. That's my report.
I have a question. Howard, are you or is Portola Valley in charge of Los Trancos Road? Is that under your jurisdiction?
Certain sections we are in charge of. So the first section is Portola Valley. Then it becomes City of Palo Alto. Then it turns back into Portola Valley, and then turns back into the county. So the first about 1,500 feet from Alpine Road is the town of Portola Valley. And then the next, I would say, half mile or mile is City of Palo Alto. And then after Oak Forest Court is the town of Portola Valley. And then after Blue Oaks, where it turns into after Blue Oaks, it becomes San Mateo County.
Oh, okay. So above Blue Oaks, that was the area I was interested in. And that sounds like you don't have anything to do with that one.
About 400 feet past Buck Meadow is
Yeah.
the town boundary, and after that, it's San Mateo County. So if you have any maintenance issues, I'd call San Mateo County Public Works.
Okay,
And I
okay,
do
I
also,
appreciate it. Go ahead.
I do also want to mention, we do sweep our shoulders twice a month, and we also do litter pickup too, which is over and beyond above what
Above and beyond.
businesses do. So, thank you.
Has that cleaning, has that increased over the years, or is that the standard that you've been doing forever?
No, that was the litter pickup that we have on the sides of the road, in addition to the street sweeping, is something above and beyond, and we've been doing that for quite a while.
Right,
It's something
okay.
we started 20 years ago. There is some historic background to that, so if you want to call me and I'll let you know about it, but it is something above and beyond what is done normally.
That's good to know. Thank you, Howard.
Thank you. Kevin, I think you have a question?
I have a question for Howard. Howard, has it been allocated that we go ahead and remove that redwood tree there on Brookside? And I don't know if you know if that tree gives off about 6,000 pounds of oxygen per year. Are they going to replace it with other smaller trees?
I think we're still in the process of that. I know that the BPTS supported it, had no issues with it, and the Conservation Committee had no issues with it. So we're moving forward, next steps already. I'm getting quotes to remove the tree. There is still a public notification process. I plan to notify everyone within 300 feet of the tree to inform them to get feedback. But we are in the process, and we can consider that too. However, it is a landscaped area, and I would be concerned if we're going to encourage more vegetation in the area. Maybe we plant something somewhere else that won't cause an issue in an area. So maybe in the vicinity. But the thought process is, the initial thought process, I think it's the redwood. If we want to improve things, it's going to be the redwood tree. And then there's also foliage in the area that has been planted, I believe, by the adjacent residents. That needs to be addressed also. So more to come on that.
Good, thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, that's an interesting point. Thanks, Kevin. I would like to point out, and I'm going to call the school district and the contractor, but there's been a lot of litter appearing on the upper part of Alpine Road between sort of Groveland Drive and Cota Madera, on the side there, where obviously quite a lot of lunch wrapper and various other material, litter materials from contractors working at the school site seem to be getting dropped. You know, McDonald's papers and coffee cups and all sorts of trash in the road there, where there is space for a bit of parking on the other side from the school and that new entrance they have for the works site. So that could do with some attention, and perhaps a little bit of leaning on from the town to ask them to clean up their act a little bit would be helpful.
I can do that. Ed.
Thank you.
I know the project manager, and I can contact him to do a litter sweep around their projects and pay attention to it more.
So,
Hey,
yeah,
Howard, we might talk to the school as well, because it's not just the contractors. I had also noticed that there was things outside our house.
Yeah, I plan to talk to the school, not directly to their subcontractors. So the school has a project manager that's an employee of the school district. His name is Adam. So I'll give him a call and let him know and give him a heads up.
all right. I mean, some of it might be the kids as well. So never know. Thank you for that. Okay. If there's anything else for Howard? Otherwise, we can move on to our regular committee business items. Thank you.
You know, I do have a question about that AT&T trailer. I talked to the supervisor there, who said that they hope to get it done this year, but it'd probably be February. And the question is, why is that equipment even being moved? Because I think you could put cabinets right by the side of Westridge and it would be done.
I can answer that. So the CEV, the underground vault there had circuitry in it. And the issue is basically it would flood annually, unfortunately. And then there would be service outages.
We're
So,
losing conductivity.
yeah. And
We're
so we complained about that.
Frozen.
I think it's you, Kevin.
Is everybody frozen?
Everybody else looks okay.
So Kevin, I think the problem is at your end. Please carry on, Howard.
So we've gotten a lot of we have complaints about it before. So we've called AT&T every year, all the time. So they're basically moving their circuitry. And one of the options is basically having an above ground vault or above ground.
Yeah, why don't they do
cabinetry.
that? That'd be much easier. That's what I don't understand.
Well, there's certain right of way with concerns there, and also it's in the scenic corridor. And that's what some of the things that we've expressed to them. So what they're trying to do is remove the circuitry out of the area and into their existing cabinets somewhere else, which I believe is a good option versus versus having the square footage underground come above ground.
I think it should be just put above ground because, people cover, they could decorate it or put a bush in front of the cabinet, and it's a much easier engineering problem for them to just put the equipment there. That's my concern.
So what they've elected to do is move the existing circuitry into some of their existing cabinets in the vicinity, is what I was told.
Which is a much bigger engineering job for them than just lifting it out of where it is. And that's the concern, that it's the delay is because they're not just moving it where it is.
Yeah, I think it's a good solution for the town, even though it's taking a little longer. And we've been pestering them. We've been emailing them every week. Unfortunately, they're really slow to respond. But I think for the scenic corridor, I think it's beneficial not to have more cabinets there on the corner. And their initial thought process was basically having a huge, it was something like a 8x12 building over there to replace that CEV. There just isn't the right of way over there. They would have to obtain something from the private property owner there. That would take years to do, and we would have an unsightly building out there. So I think for the scenic corridor, I think this is a beneficial solution.
Okay.
And I think them going through the process, yeah, it's taking longer, yeah, it's taking more effort, but I think ultimately it's a bit more benefit to the town. So
okay.
Thank you, Howard.
Howard, I have a general question for you.
yes.
Are you there? On the no parking signs, what is the regulation as far as those can be cited for? Is it 150 feet from the sign or 300 feet? What's the extension that the officers can also cite on the no parking signs?
So typically what I understand, it's within 150 feet. The sign should be placed every 150 feet or with engineering judgment. So, and it's also line of sight. So I think 150 feet would satisfy the line of sight. Is there a specific area that you're concerned about?
No, I've seen a lot of them that I think are further away than 150 feet. And I don't like signs myself, but what are you going to do?
In town?
Yeah.
Okay.
That really is where the design engineering comes into, whatever you implement. So,
Yeah.
If you could let me know, Kevin, we're in town, we'll take a look at it too.
Okay, I will.
And if there's a parking issue there,
All right,
let us know.
I will.
Okay, thank you. Now let's move on to items under section 6, which are our ongoing committee business. And the first thing I think we've already partly touched on, as you may, is an update on a recommendation to remove that redwood tree in Portola Road at the location close to Brookside, the western entrance and exit from Brookside. I think I always get spun around when I went to the compass of that part of town. I think we've already discussed that a little bit, Howard. You said that obviously this committee recommended that the town should review removing the tree. And I think you said that the Conservation Committee have also reached an opinion on the tree as well. Can you give us some background on that again, please?
Yes, so the discussion of the tree was on their agenda last month, the Conservation Committee's agenda, and they had no issues with the removal of the tree. So once we got BPTS and Conservation Committee input, then we start moving forward next steps on external communications with the residents too. But I got quotes. I'm in the process of getting quotes. It is a big tree and on a curve too. So there's a thought process that we have to put in to safely remove it. And also there was some additional comments by the original requester to add something. So we're digesting that also.
Okay, thank you. So please keep us informed on how that's going. I think you said that one of the next steps with that was to make sure that everybody within that 300-foot zone is notified, so that they have a chance to weigh in and know what's going on.
Yes.
But it sounds like that's making good progress. Thank you, Howard.
Go ahead.
Yes, sorry, go ahead.
I think we missed 5B.
We perhaps did. Where are we there? Request for, yes, that's right. This is a request for progress on design and engineering of the recommended new pedestrian safety facilities. This is updates to striping and also planning out the engineering for rapid flashing beacons at 2 locations.
So that's just a quick update. We're working on engineering and traffic surveys for the rapid flashing beacons. So I've already touched base with Paul, and that's his update. So it's a work in progress. So
okay. When do you think we would have some more concrete feedback from Paul and something to discuss back at this committee?
Okay, let's break down to 2 things. The rapid flashing beacons, I would touch bases with them on, but they are working on some mapping and alternatives and traffic surveys that he's doing. So I would hope in a couple of 2-3 weeks here, but I'll touch bases with Paul on that. So that's the rapid flashing beacon item. That's a more long-term item. The other item is the draft design for the no parking signs along Portola Road across from Windy Hill. So I've checked in with Laura Russell in the building planning department, as I indicated I would, and also the ASCC, Dave Ross. And I also checked with Kara, our town attorney, on the powers of the ASCC. So as those are the things I was tasked to check in with. There potentially may not be, per the municipal code, any formal review required by the ASCC. And I have to discuss that with Jeremy and which route we're going to take. Though Dave Ross has kind of been formally expressed an informal advisory review. So I'm working through those things. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I'll have a more solid answer after I discuss with Jeremy on which way we want to go.
Thank you. Okay, this is back to section 6 of our agenda. We are going a little backwards and forwards here, but I think we have, unless anybody has any more comments on the redwood tree, I think proposing we move on to the next item. That is an update from the sheriff's contract renewal that was discussed in the council meeting on October 26th. That was last Wednesday. I think a couple of you heard that I made some comments requesting a few possible items that we might consider including in that contract. And then maybe, I think, Craig, it was highlighted that there will be further opportunities to discuss this before that whole contract is thrashed out finally. So is there something, Craig, that you'd like to say to update us on that process and the sort of outcome of the discussion from last Wednesday?
No, I don't think so. The council has a subcommittee working, or who will be working with the sheriff's department on the new contract. It's I think it's Sarah and Jeff. Yeah, we'll be reaching out to committees in the future. But if anybody, over the coming months, if you have a thought saying like, oh, it'd be really nice if the sheriff's department did this, and we had that in our contract, or didn't do this that they're currently doing, or anything like that. And it's really, not sort of addressing specific one-off things that they might be doing, but more structural stuff we want to put in the contract. So our current contract is a 5-year contract. We used to do 3-year ones. We may go back to doing shorter term ones to try and sync up with Woodside, because we're out of sync with Woodside on our renewals now. They didn't go to 5 years like we did. But it's sort of structurally how many people are in town, what they focus on, what times of day they're here, that kind of stuff. So if you're ever sleepless at night, the contract's pretty short. It's only about 4 or 5 pages long. So if you want to read through it and think about if there anything that this committee or members would like to see, feel free to, either bring it back up at this committee, or individual members, if you want to comment as members of the public, your input would be appreciated. So you can let me know and I'll pass it on to the subcommittee.
All right. No, thank you, Craig. And that contract is available on the town website? Is that correct?
It should be. It was probably in the agenda packet for the last couple council meetings that the last council meeting that we discussed it at. But if not, if you search, San Mateo County Sheriff contract on the website, it'll probably show up.
Okay, thank you.
And the new contract is going to be in place starting July 1st next year. So we've got about 6 months to work on it.
That's it. That's a useful date to have. Thank you. I think the 2 points I made were sort of looking at increased coverage at known busy times, particularly school times, and then the things to deal with parking on the weekends, which I know we've fluctuated on a little bit, and then also building in more of a commitment to reporting back on citations and those things to the police commissioner, and then obviously to this committee to give us more visibility on what's going on in town as a formalized thing in the contract, which I think are relatively trivial. Shouldn't cost us too much extra. I was going to comment, was the reason to go into a 5-year contract, do you get a sort of lost leader the more you buy in one big gulp, or
it was essentially to lock in pricing.
Oh, it really was. Okay.
Yeah, they as we were negotiating it out, they were, their costs were going up pretty rapidly. They hadn't passed through a lot of cost increases to us in previous cycles, and so they wanted to raise the prices, and rather than doing it a bigger raise over a shorter period of time, we had a slightly smaller raise over a slightly smaller increase over a longer period of time. So it got them to the final price they wanted to get at, but it did it over 5 years instead of 3 years.
Okay, thank you. I say, I think we have more time to keep this. It's probably a standing agenda item for this committee if everybody would be interested to have that as a discussion point until we reach that July time frame.
Yeah, might not be a bad idea. Just gives people an opportunity for public comment, or committee members if they had an idea and forgot to put an email together or whatever, to just voice it. So no reason not to, and it can be a pretty quick agenda item if nobody has anything new. So
I think so. Yeah. All right, thank you. Is there anything else on that today, or may we move on, please, to the next item? Okay. We have item C, 6C, a report from our subcommittee on alternative transport and infrastructure, which is Pat and Angela, please.
Okay.
I know you've been working away hard on this particular item of interest.
Oh, Angela, you want me to start or do you want to?
Go
And-
ahead, Pat. You have the list.
Well, okay. So one of these things is for Howard. The first, Angela and I went through some ideas that we had for trying a few different things as far as the future, different things to be working on the committee, different things to be looking at. And we have a list, and what we're hoping is that different people in the committee would be interested in taking on one of the items so that, you know, we can kind of flourish as a committee. So I know that one, and I keep on bringing it up, and I'm glad Howard's here because this is always goes back to Howard when it comes to roads. The intersection of Portola and Alpine Road. And I know that we had said, we had done that huge process not to have our shoulders become bike lanes. And you had said that in order to have the intersection marked for cyclists to safely pass through that intersection, the leading roads to that intersection, the corridors needed to be official bike lanes. And that's true, correct? Is that the case, Howard?
So the practice, I'll answer that in twofold. So the practice of bike lanes is that you can't have, typically you have the consistent bike lane. So I think what you're talking about is potentially just 50 feet or 100 foot of a bike lane.
Yeah.
Typically that's not done. You have to have a consistent bike lane. So hopefully that answers that. The second part of the question is we've, through the council and previous discussions, we are providing a 5-foot shoulder, which is beyond the Caltrans. I think the Caltrans is, if you have curb and gutter, it's a 5-foot width. Without a curb and gutter, it's a 4-foot width. That's allowed. Because the curb and gutter is being concrete in a lot of cities. So I believe we've provided that on Alpine and on Portola. So the actual room is there, even though that it hasn't been striped as a bike lane.
Right.
Coincidentally, the standards have increased also. I don't know if you noticed that the new striping center line is wider than the old one. And the new striping for the edge line is actually wider now. It's actually the old bike lane width, because the new bike lane width is even of the stripe is even wider now. So just to cast some light on the situation, we are providing the amount of space for bikes there already as a previous directive, and also rolling those shoulders to get them smooth.
There's no lane for bikes going straight on. That's the problem, Howard.
No, it's not so much the lane. I was down there looking it over. The problem, like if you're down at the corner, and we've all spent plenty of time at that corner yelling at everybody that goes through it. And the places that we have been looking at were the people on Alpine Road going towards, let's say, Corte Madera. Going towards the woods on Alpine as opposed to turning right on Portola. Those cyclists that are going straight through that intersection very seldom go into the straight lane. They go into the turn lane. And the riders that are coming from Portola to turn onto Alpine Road to the left in particular, don't turn where they should be in the center lane and turning to the left. They turn from the bike lane which confuses everybody and is dangerous. So what we were hoping is that we could have bike, but the bike markers on the road painted in the direction with arrows as far as where to be if you're going straight, where to be in the intersection if you're going to the left, where to be when you're coming down Alpine Road and turning to the left at that intersection, as opposed to coming from the bike lane, being in the center where you should be to turn left. So it's like 3 bike circular markers with arrows, straight arrows, or left turn arrows. Is that something we can potentially add? Or is that something that goes outside of the realm of it not being a bike, a proper bike intersection?
So I think it's certainly something we can look at. I think we looked at this intersection with Krupka Consulting a couple of years ago. We made improvements, and at that time it wasn't brought up. So because we've restriped this intersection just last year.
Right. So I know it would have to be in the sequence of your striping, but as long as we're at it. The other place that I think would really benefit the cyclists is at Windy Hill. If we put something in the road there around where all the people are parked on the right-hand side of the road, just saying, cyclists, it's okay here to take the lane. That way, the bikes aren't riding really close to the cars. They have enough room to move over just through that dangerous corridor.
So I have to digest that, but I think we have to look at it as there's things in the California Vehicle Code that already allow the bikes to travel in the lane already, since we don't have official bike lanes.
Right.
So I'm trying to figure out what problem we're trying to solve, because if the California Vehicle Code allows the bikes to move in the lane already, then you're asking for some kind of official legend that do
I'm
that. So
asking for a visual communicator to the bikes so that they know it's okay there to take the lane.
So I think.
Yeah.
Yes,
May I
go
say
ahead.
something? Yeah, I think what Pat is saying is what could you include in the roadway design, not just to to basically encourage cyclists to use the proper lane practice, not just do the lazy, slightly dangerous thing of making the turn a left turn from the right lane and vice versa. And it kind of goes perhaps a little bit outside what the code is for indicating the lane and the rights of the rider to being something that's almost educational in that way, I think.
Yeah, when we were there for the Zots and Tots, all of us came very close to witnessing a very dangerous accident with a group of cyclists that were in the right lane, that were turning left at the corner onto Alpine, and that Subaru was coming through, not knowing what the cyclists were doing, not knowing what the protocol was, but proceeded to get in the middle of that group of cyclists, really creating a dangerous situation. And we all saw it. The cops that were there saw it, and they thanked us later. The deputy came over and thanked us for trying to get the car and the bike separated so that there was no accident. So, it was, we're there, we see it, we're not there, it still goes on. And it just seems like we have dodged so many bullets as far as not having accidents there. Oh, yeah.
Pat, one of the things we did, we closed the roads. How come there's a Subaru on the road?
That was right before they were closing the roads. They were just clearing out the last fragments of cars before it shut down. So everybody was there in preparation for the roads to be closed. But before the roads get closed, everybody's scurrying to get out of there. So it was in the midst of the scurry to get out that caused a little bit of havoc and mayhem.
I've got you. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's certainly one to look at.
Howard, if it's possible, I'd love to meet with you or talk to you about this offline and see if we can come up with some solutions.
Yeah, we could do that. That's what I was gonna suggest, that there's probably not enough time to talk about something that big.
Yeah, because
But maybe we should meet at the junction. Maybe we should meet at the junction with our bikes so that we can show how it happens. Because that way you can see where the white line is and you can see how a biker would behave.
Yeah,
cyclists.
Angela, I kind of agree with you. And I've been in that dilemma myself, being a motorist. I am not a bicyclist, as you know, but a lot of bicyclists really do not pay attention to the vehicle code. And that's unfortunate, but they're the ones going to suffer if there's an accident usually. One of the things I want to mention with Howard, and I know what he's saying, is consistency is very, very important. And if we're going to go ahead and do something, we're going to have it off the main type of code description for traffic zoning. We voted against, and Pat, you keep referring to as bicycle lanes. We don't have bicycle lanes. We have shoulder lanes, and we voted that a long time ago.
I call them shoulders.
Yeah, I know, but you keep on referring back to bicycle lanes. But I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. We have to look at those particular points, especially the Windy Curve, as well as the corridor up there by Roberts Market, and maybe come up with an alternate solution.
Yeah, if Howard's into working it out with us, I think that would be great to set up a meeting or a get together based on Howard's schedule, of course. You know, so we could go over there and look it over and see how the behaviors develop at that corner. It'd be great.
Be good. Thank you. Of course, the obvious answer is to turn that junction into a roundabout. But,
Well, and that's one of the things on our list is it could potentially, you know, especially if that intersection goes in where the Hawthorns want to access that corner, there's the opening for a roundabout,
Yeah.
you know, and that'll slow people down too.
anyway, thank you. Do we have anything else particularly on our infrastructure development item here, item C, 6C? Or was it, I know I've prepared also, when this is a subcommittee item, that we can keep as a rolling discussion as you go through different elements of that and I think you touched on something else, Pat, which was encouraging different committee members to perhaps take on those elements. Certainly I'd be willing to consider doing something like that, and I hope that other committee members would. So as items of interest come up, please keep us informed and invite members to contribute.
Well, we've got more stuff on our list, so I kind of think the thing that would be best, because this intersection is a huge thing, but the other items on the list are also quite big. And if we can get this list on the agenda for next month, so that everyone can look over the list and consider what they might be interested in, then we can have a much smoother discussion as far as other options to get involved in.
Okay, please make sure that if I have that list, I can
I
include
just sent it to you.
Thank you, and I'll put it in the agenda packet, additional items for next
That'd be perfect.
next month, and then we can actually make that list discussion an item for next time.
Yeah,
Thank
that'd be super. Thank you.
Great. Last item on our ongoing committee business is the Sheriff's Workshop opportunity that I know we've discussed a few times, and what timings and chances for that are likely to be. But I think that was also possibly contingent on some of the upcoming new contract discussions as well. So I think we talked about possibly something after the holiday break and moving on into the new year. Is there any further thoughts on that, Craig, from your council angle?
Yeah, I think it is related to the sheriff's contract. I think the subcommittee and Jeremy were planning on organizing at some point, a public meeting essentially with some sheriff's department folks there, as well as the subcommittee, at least to the council. to just have a, a workshop welcoming the new sheriff and letting her talk about what her plans are and thinking about the new contract and what policing means in Portola Valley. Just sort of a broad, once a decade kind of a, hey, what's up with the police in Portola Valley kind of a meeting. So my guess is probably after the new year. Things are pretty busy and people are out of town and stuff kind of from now until early January. So probably sometime in the new year as they sort of kick the contract discussions into higher gear between the town and the sheriff's office.
Thank you. That's right. That also would coincide with the new sheriff's appointment. Is that right? Yeah. So I'm pretty excited to see Christina as our new sheriff, and I think she's going to be good, a good resource for those things. So it touches on something I think Kevin, you and I briefly were discussing was committee purviews and things, and having a town body that looks at liaising with the police and security and those things. Is that something you wanted to comment on at this point?
Well, it seems like we have all these committees out where we are, sustainability committee, we have the cultural arts committee, but we don't have a safety and security committee. I wonder if we should include that in our committee. What do you think, Craig?
Well, I think we kind of already do, at least in as far as traffic, which is in most months. That's most of the work the sheriff's department is doing. Our crime rate is just very, very low in Portola Valley. So I think having a standing committee where they're full-time focused on other policing issues. There's just not that many other policing issues to discuss other than once every 3 or 4 years we have a contract renewal, and once every 10 years there's a burglary spree or something. So I think the way we do it now works pretty well, unless Kevin, you have thoughts on why we might want to change that, or if there's more that we need to do in terms of ongoing contact with police. I think also Gary does have a relationship as our police commissioner, and so he reaches out to them, and whenever there is an issue, the council also will reach out and talk to the sheriff's department through our staff. So unless there's something slipping through the holes, Kevin, that you think needs oversight or needs more attention, in which case we can certainly think about it.
I just think there's no committee for the safety and security to go to at this point. It goes right directly, like I say, to Gary, and then from Gary to, of course, town council. But there's no in-between type place for the individuals to go to in our town.
Yeah, I mean, I think if there's stuff that comes up, we can certainly figure it out. It's just historically, I don't think. I think the way it works now has kind of worked for people. So, and I think people do, because this committee, is the one that's most closely involved with the sheriff's department around traffic stuff, which, we get the monthly report here, which is more than any other committee interacts with the sheriff's department pretty much ever. I think this committee kind of already has that role a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know that anybody's ever, needed to come talk to a committee about burglaries or anything like that. Whenever it was 10 years ago that we set up 6 years ago, we set up the ALPRs.
Right.
We had those discussions at the council because it was a big enough issue that we wanted it to be pretty focused. So
Yeah, they've made a big difference. And I was just wondering if we would get that data like on that and just kind of review it as we do the accidents, the injuries and speed sites we have in our city, our town.
Yeah, the data we get in reports, we do get reports from the sheriff's department. I forget if it's quarterly or annually. The data is kind of meaningless. Like it tells you absolutely nothing. It's like, well, we saw this many cars. Okay. And it's really hard to understand from what they report to us whether they're of any use at all. We're considering switching the vendor that collects and processes the data and lets the sheriff's office do searches and stuff to a new vendor that I think has much better reporting capabilities than Vigilant, the current one. So we may get something better in the future, but I don't know. I mean, the impact in terms of, you know, crime rate in Portola Valley is zero. There's no noticeable difference. But we'll see if we can get better reporting on how they actually use them than what we get now. Right now, the reports we get are totally useless.
Right. Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Unless there's any other
Yeah.
comments to make on that. Oh, thank you, Angela. Go ahead.
I was wondering if we should get a report from the fire department on accidents, because I am sure that in this last month I saw on firedispatch.com accident, and that fire engine goes out to accidents probably even more than the police. And I was thinking maybe we should ask the fire department for what accidents they've been to.
That's a really good idea.
I get a feeling we discussed this before.
We did
I
it.
think,
a while
we
back.
did, but we've never had any. We've never had any.
No.
And the idea is to figure out how to get more reality check on the number of accidents there are,
Yes.
because we know it's off. We learned in bicycle, and when we were all certified as instructors for bicycle safety, that half of the accidents that happen on the road are bicycles hitting other bicycles. And those aren't going to be reported to the police. Those are little accidents, but they all make a difference as far as the safety of our roads. You know, half of them are with cars, the other half are with other bikes.
Yeah.
And we don't know squat diddly about most of those.
That's why I don't ride with other bikes.
I agree.
Sorry. It's a very good point, though, actually, Pat. Thank you. I don't know how. Who would be a person to approach on that? Well, maybe, you know,
We can,
Celine
I mean,
Brown or somebody.
our staff has fairly regular discussions about, I mean, most about, you know, fire related things with the fire department. So I'll drop it in Jeremy's ear to bring up next time he's talking to the chief, and just run it up the flagpole and see what he says.
Well,
It might be really easy, or it might be really hard for them because they don't actually have any easy way of producing such a report. But if you know, they already have it in a computer system as just once a month setting up an auto email or something, then it might be pretty easy. If it's more complicated, then, you know,
Maybe someone could write a script on firedispatch.com and just sift all the ones that say accident.
Yeah. I'll ask Jeremy to talk next time, to raise it with the chief and find out next time he's talking.
That would be great. I think that certainly give us a better picture of the type of things that are going on, and then if that then shows up, you know, a particular area in town that is more connected with accident frequency, then that informs a way to you know, put our attention on, you know, any roadway design change or something that would help that. You know, put your effort where it's needed, rather than think of solutions to problems that maybe don't exist. I think things we've already touched on today, so that's great. We don't have any further comment from our regular ongoing committee business. Our next item is events. Don't have any upcoming events that I am aware of. I think the only thing I can think of that's possibly in the immediate future is whatever the volunteer holiday party is, and I don't think notices have gone out for that yet. So
yeah, we should be starting discussions about that soon. I mean, there will be one.
Okay. I missed the party.
Watch your email inboxes. You should be getting something not too distant future. We'll pick a date.
all right, great, thank you. And then any other matters arising from today's meeting?
One other event that's upcoming is obviously the election, and I have been pulling down the data from the county's FTP server about return ballots. I see 2 of you have already voted, and 2 of you have not yet returned your ballots. So you know who you are.
I wait till the
Oh.
last minute in case people die.
Oh, there you go. There you
Very
go.
prudent, Angela.
I'll tell you, hours are in, so there you go.
I vote early in case I die.
Oh, Pat, don't say that.
You never know. I ride a bike.
Every
That's
year
right.
there's a handful of those.
I
Yeah.
know.
And they count. They count. If you vote before you die, it counts. So
Oh, good to know. Good to know. That's a new slogan.
All right, well, thank you for that, Craig. Yes, yeah, please vote, please vote. We have some interesting formatting burp on the last thing, but our next regularly scheduled meeting will be on the 7th of December. That's the usual times and places. And if there are no further items.
Yes, hello, excuse me, Ed?
I beg your pardon, I did not see a hand up. Go ahead, Rita.
I'm sorry, I'm driving, so it's hard for me to put my hand up.
All
But, the previous speaker was speaking about the election, and that person is running for office.
Mhm.
And, I don't think that this is the place to have an advantage during an active election. There are 6 more days. And, I'm not sure what the rules say in our town as far as somebody advertising themselves and looking into and seemingly to speak directly to committee members about who's voted and who's not voted without saying names. But I find that inappropriate. I just want to state that for the record. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
for clarity, I was not advocating any vote in any particular direction, even though I
Or
don't know
anything
if that
like
would have been a
that.
problem, just that you vote
Yeah.
for whatever your choice is.
Okay, thank you. Let's leave that there. Thank you.
I'd say it
both.
was harmless, very harmless.
Thank you for all the comments. If there are no further hands up or items to discuss,
Oh, we got another one. Kevin's
Kevin.
trying to.
I have a question. On the EIR report on the wedge, Stanford wedge, do we have a say as a committee?
That's Stanford land.
I can address that briefly. Because it's an active application under planning review, state law sets a maximum number of public meetings that are allowed to review planning applications. And most of those need to be the ASCC and the Planning Commission. You can't, unfortunately, review it as a committee, but you can all make comments as individuals. You're allowed to publicly comment, or were during the public comment period. But we couldn't agendize it for the committee to discuss because of the limit on the number of public meetings that can review planning application.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Okay.
if we have no further items, I think that is the case. Declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody, for keeping everything timely.
Thank
See
you.
you next month.
Well,
Thank you. Thanks,
bye.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Hey, Howard.
Hmm.
What's the easiest way to set up an appointment for our
Pat, why don't you call me? You're still recording on the meeting.
okie dokie? Very good. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.